Welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you would do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. But here's where we'll start. First and foremost, congratulations to the Chicago Sky for winning the WNBA Championship. They won on Sunday. They beat the Phoenix Mercury 3-1. And shouts out to them. You know, there's something to be said when a quote-unquote underdog wins something, you know. And it really gets you to question, why were they underdogs? I understand their record may not have been the best, but if it wasn't for a Dabrika Hambry crazy half-court shot last year, they could be two-time defending champions. You see, I understand that, you know, again, record tells everything pretty much. Well, not doesn't tell everything, but record definitely has something to play. So I'll say, going into the WNBA finals, of course I thought, or going into the WNBA playoffs, I was clearly wrong. I mean, I had the Connecticut Sun, and I had the Vegas Aces winning it all. Or no, I had the Vegas Aces winning it all, but I had the Connecticut Sun going against the Vegas Aces. Of course, they were number 1 and number 2 seed. And I kind of got baited into that. You know, I kind of got baited into whether the number 1 seed, Connecticut Sun, have Jonquel Jones, who won the women's MVP. And the Vegas Aces, you have Audra Wilson, you have Kelsey Plum, you have Liz Cambage, you have Chelsea Gray. Like, they have a squad. But there's something there has to be something to be said, even though the Chicago Sky was the 6th seed and they even had to play. They played in the single elimination. They played round 1 single elimination, round 2 single elimination, and they were able to, you know, go to the semifinals and ultimately win. But when you look deeper, it's more than just that. Again, Dabrika Hambry hit an incredible shot last year in the playoffs that sent the Chicago Sky home. But if you look at the Chicago Sky, man, Kayla Cooper, a former was drafted by the Washington Mystics. Shouts out to her. She won the Finals MVP. She had an incredible run in the playoffs in general. Candace Parker, we know about her. We'll talk about her in a second. Courtney Vandersloot will go down as one of the best point guards the WNBA has ever seen, especially with her court vision and everything. She was incredible. Diamond DeShields, she gave, even though her minutes were kind of reduced in the playoffs, you know, she gave some big moments. Dana Evans, especially in game 3, she was incredible at the end, even though they did blow them out. She was incredible at the end. You know, let's talk about Candace Parker for a second. So as we know, she is a hometown girl or woman. I apologize. She's from Chicago, played for the Sparks her entire career until she went to Chicago and got them first. This is Chicago's first WNBA championship. And there's something to be said, man, about perseverance. I think it was 2018 or 2019, one of those two, where she was voted by her peers the most overrated player in the league. And she, I mean, we've all seen the Instagram post going around. She was also benched in an elimination game when she was with the Sparks. It's like, it's tough, man. It's tough when a lot of people give up on you. It's tough when a lot of people doubt you. It's tough when a lot of people that usually were in your corner are not. And she just kept persevering. She kept working, like she said in her the post game when they won. You know, just keep working. And she was incredible, even though, you know, she didn't have the biggest stat line in the playoffs. She wasn't. I mean, in the elimination game or the winning game, or the game that won them the championship, she had 16 points and 13 rebounds, 5 assists. 4 steals, and a lot of those steals were big steals. She hit, I mean, the Chicago Sky had to come back. I think they were down like 13 or 14 in game 4, and they roared all the way back. I think they scored like 26 points in the fourth quarter when Phoenix only scored 11. The Chicago Sky, I'm not going to call it a dream season, or I'm not going to call, they didn't luck into anything. They were able to go. I mean, look, they win it. First round, they had Dallas. Dallas was red hot. Dallas came into the elimination game on fire. They beat Dallas. Then you go and you beat Sylvia Fowles. You go and beat the Minnesota Lynx. And then when you go to the semifinals and you beat the number 1 overall seed in the Connecticut Sun, that has Jaquil Jones, that has DeWanna Bonner, that has some of the ladies or a lot of the great ladies that they have, it's something to be said about that, man. And when you ultimately beat the Phoenix Mercury that have, Diana Taurasi, which just a couple days ago was voted the GOAT of the WNBA, when they have Skylar Diggins-Smith, who was playing incredible. Brittany Griner was on another level. It's something to be said, man. So shouts out to the Chicago Sky for winning the WNBA Championship. And I'm going to say all their names because a lot of people, I mean, the support for the WNBA has grown exponentially since the birth of it. And this was the only thing that I didn't like, or I don't like, is kind of how it was covered. As far as, I mean, this is the WNBA Finals. It's a marquee game, and it was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. When you know that a lot of people are going to be watching football, or a lot of people are going to be watching whatever else is there to watch on Sunday. But I'm not taking away from the victory. I'm not taking away from the fans I mean, it looked like a packed house. When I was watching it, man, they were loud. They were jumping. Shouts out to Chance the Rapper. He's been a huge Chicago Sky fan since their inauguration, I think, in 2006. But I'm going to say all their names. Shouts out to Kayla Copper for winning the Finals MVP. Shouts out to Candace Parker, Azura Stevens, Eleni Quigley, who actually, I think she had a big game. She had 26 points. And I think that's the lady that won the 3-point contest. Courtney Vandersloot, they're both married, actually. But Courtney Vandersloot had a big game, 10 points, 15 assists. Diamond DeShields, Stephanie Dolson, who's also, I guess you can say, a Washington Mystics alum. Shouts out to her. Dana Evans, as to Nadufal, Alexi Brown, I apologize, and Ruthie Herbert. Shouts out to the Chicago Sky for winning the 2021 WNBA Championship. And it really, again, it really gets me to think how far they could have went last year. They didn't have Candace Parker, but they had pretty much this team outside of a few people. And if it wasn't for DeCara Hamby shot, I don't know. Because now I think about it, I don't know if they would have been able to beat the Seattle Storm last year, but I don't know. But congratulations to the Chicago Sky for winning this year's WNBA championship. Definitely well deserved, definitely well fought. And shouts out to Phoenix. I mean, I know a lot of people are bagging on them right now because they declined to do media after the win, or after the loss. I'm sorry, but I mean, Diana Taurasi had a great season. Brown and Turner had a great season. Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins, Sophie Cunningham was good. So shouts out to them. I do think the injury to Kia Nurse was big, but hey. That's sports. So yeah, shouts out to the Chicago Sky for winning the WNBA championship. Let's move forward. So week 6 of the NFL is behind us now, and I'm going to do a breakdown of all the games. I do this every week. Saturdays are usually predictions. Wednesdays are usually breakdowns. So let's start with the game that surprised the hell out of me, and that was the Dolphins beating the Jaguars. I'm sorry, beating the Dolphins 23-20. You know, usually we want to harp on the quarterback, and usually we want to kill the quarterback. And Tua didn't have the greatest day, but Tua did have I'm going to say that he was not the reason that the Dolphins lost this game. I know I think it's popular at this point to bag on Tua, especially with the rumors that as in the Dolphins are trying to get Deshaun Watson. But this loss was not on Tua. Two of the Dolphins' best defenders were out, and even this year the Dolphins have been bad defensively. Like they just have not been good. Even with Xavier Howard and their other corner, they haven't been good. And I predicted that the Dolphins were going to win, but that's because the Jaguars are the worst team in the league. Like that's just don't let the record fool you. They don't have a really good unit. I mean, they have Trevor Lawrence, but they don't really have a good unit. So this loss that was in London, I believe, at like 9:30 in the morning. This loss is definitely on the defense of the Dolphins and the coaching staff, man. I mean, Urban Meyer, and it sucks to say, being an African American, and Brian Flores is an African American as well, but he was out coached by Urban Meyer. This was Urban Meyer's best coached game, and it just was an all-around loss. I mean, Tua played to the best of his ability. I know he had a bad turnover, but I don't blame this on him. I blame this on the defense and the coaching. It just, when you have two of the three things not going your way, it spells doom. Especially even though the Jaguars are the Jaguars and they're not really good, and they're probably the worst team in the league, that they're still in the NFL, and any given Sunday is a saying for a reason. You can lose any given Sunday. So shouts out to the Jaguars for beating the Dolphins. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Washington football team 31-13. And let's park here right quick. So, as we talked about on Saturday, this was they honored or retired Sean Taylor's number, the 23, and I had a lot to say about it. I'm like, yo, why would you do that going against Patrick Mahomes? And then, of course, all the turmoil and the black cloud that's around the Washington football team right now. I thought that it would probably be better if they just hold off. But they didn't. They decided, hey, full guns blaze. Let's do it. And so Washington. Here's the thing that frustrates me about Washington, man. And this isn't just this year. It's been this reason way for a minute. Washington, there are games where they have every right to win, and this is one of those games. Kansas City Chiefs came in not playing so well. Patrick Mahomes had the most intercept, or on pace to throw the most interceptions he's ever thrown in his career this season. The Kansas City defense is one of the worst, if not the worst defense or ranked defense in the league right now. Everything was going Washington's way. Hell, Washington was they picked off Patrick Mahomes twice. One of them was Tyreek Hill's fault, but they picked him off twice. They forced a turnover by McCole Harmon, I believe. Everything was going Washington's way until they got to the third quarter. And I don't know what it is. Washington usually does good in the first two quarters, or usually has two quarters that they're really good at. But then the fourth quarter the third quarter comes, and it's just a wrap, man. And then the Kansas City Chiefs start looking like themselves. So my issue is that Washington just continues to. They can't finish games. They can't finish quarters. I I mean, let's not forget the Hail Mary that happened against the Saints at the end of the half. A Hail Mary that it just, man. By the end of the game, the Kansas City Chiefs look like the Kansas City Chiefs. They look like the same Kansas City Chiefs that have been to 2 straight Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes started humming. He started getting Tyreek Hill involved. He started getting Travis Kelce involved. The third quarter really got them riled up, and after the third quarter, they started rolling. Now, I'm not disappointed at the fact that the Washington football team lost. I expected them to lose. You're going up against a better quarterback. I'm not upset about that. What I'm upset about is the report that came after. So, reports came out saying Cam Newton got vaccinated. In fact, it's not even reports. He said it for himself. He got the vaccine. That was a big point of contention when he was with New England, and a lot of people speculate that's one of the biggest reasons why he's not there anymore. And a lot of people were speculating, saying that's a reason why a lot of teams weren't really going after him, because he was unvaccinated and being a quarterback. And if you catch COVID, or you could bring, I don't know what could happen, but you could not be available. And Washington was one of those teams that they were saying he's probably not going to go to Washington because he's unvaccinated. And Ron Rivera, we know about the health problems that he's had, that can really be detrimental. Well, Cam Newton comes out and says he's vaccinated. And a report yesterday comes out and says Washington will not be bringing in Cam. I'm not upset at the fact that they're not bringing in Cam as much as I'm upset with the fact that Tyler Heinicke, I understand it's a good story. I understand that Tyler Heinicke is a good story, and I understand that, bringing in someone like Cam Newton, you're going to have to change your entire offense. But it's like Tyler Heinicke is not the answer, in my opinion. Tyler Heinicke is not it. And then even when Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back, he is not the option. My point is not the fact that they didn't bring Cam Newton. It's the fact that the goal for a team is to be the best that you can be. And it doesn't feel like Washington continues to try to put themselves in the best possible position. I don't believe that. Actually, I don't know. If Cam Newton was the quarterback on Sunday, they may have won, because this was the best that the defense has ever played as far as this year. This was the best this year that they have played. Again, they had 3 turnovers, I believe. They had a couple sacks. Like, this was the best defense that Washington has played all season. They just needed the offense to match. I mean, again, they were winning, I believe, at halftime. I think it was like 13-10 at halftime, and they got shut out the second half. I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't feel like Washington tries to put themselves in the best position to win. And even if that's not, I think that's Cam Newton right now. And we'll see where it goes from there. But Tyler Heinicke does not put you in the best position. Again, bro, just 2-3 years ago, he was taking online classes, wasn't he? Or walking on a college campus. Not because he was a freshman, or not because his age allowed him to be in college. It's because he didn't have an offer. So he was like, let me just go to college. So shouts out to the Kansas City Chiefs. I guess coming out that game, man, it really just takes a game. I think it's an overreaction to say that the Kansas City Chiefs are back. They did look good in the second half, but a lot of the problems that plagued them in this entire season has plagued them in the first half of the game. Their defense still isn't that good. I believe that if they played if we had a different quarterback as far as Washington, that the game may have gone differently. But Patrick Mahomes did his thing. He still had, like I said, the recklessness. With that second turnover, I believe, was horrible. When he was getting tackled down, he just threw the ball up in there for grabs. You can't do that. He knows that. I think he knows that. But they were able to win the game. So and like I said before, winning masks all problems until winning. So shouts out to the Kansas City Chiefs for beating Washington 31-13. The Rams beat the Giants 38-11. The Giants aren't good. Their entire team pretty much is injured on the offensive side. But even Daniel Jones struggles with turnovers, and yet again, I think he had like 3 interceptions, and all of them, every single one of those interceptions were horrible decisions. I understand maybe 1 or 2, but you had 3 terrible. Like, it looked like he was throwing the ball directly to the defense. That's again, I understand that Sterling Shepard did come back, but I understand Darius Slayton is still banged up. I understand Kenny Galladay, Saquon Barkley. I get that, but no, and I'm starting to think that they're probably going to give Joe Judge a pass because of the injuries that New York is dealing with, and because we understand the limitations that Daniel Jones has, but Joe Judge ain't really been doing good as well this year. I mean, I think he's trying to what's his name? Dan Orlowski said it on ESPN. Shouts out to him. He's trying to rule with like an iron fist, and it's not really. I don't think he's connecting, and but I think because of the injuries and because they know how bad Daniel Jones can be, I think he's getting a pass for the season. He's getting a pass in general, but. Yeah, man, the Rams did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they did it to perfection. So the Rams won 38-11. The Colts beat the Texans 31-3. The Colts, I know that the Texans caught the Colts at a bad time. Now, the Colts is an overall better team than the Texans, but how the Colts lost on Monday Night Football against the Ravens, and they had a week to pretty much stew and fester on that, and they took everything they could out on the Texans, and the Texans are still playing with a rookie quarterback, which isn't ready to play, and even if he was ready to play, they don't really have a good team in general. So what happened was supposed to happen. So shouts out to the Colts for beating the Texans. I'm starting to think that the Lions may go 17. This was the game. This was the game that I predicted that the Lions were going to get their first win. I apologize to the Bengals. The Bengals beat the Lions 34-11. I was betting against logic. I knew that the Bengals had a better quarterback. They had a better offensive core. I mean, Joe Mixon, Higbee, Jamar Chase. I knew that. I knew that the Bengals were better coached. I knew that the Bengals, even though it was tough to say, I knew the Bengals had a better defense than the Lions. I knew the Bengals were pretty much better in every form than the Lions, except for probably their offensive line. And I still picked the Lions. I said the Lions are at home. The Lions, they keep being in games. They just can't finish. They had every opportunity to beat the Ravens. They had every opportunity to beat the Packers. They had every opportunity to beat the Vikings, I believe. They just can't finish games. And I was like, this will be the week. Boy, was I wrong. Joe Burrow went crazy on them boys. And I'm starting to think that they may now again, any given Sunday, they can still end up winning, and they probably still end up winning. I'm not going to predict that someone's going to go 0-17 because that's a lot of losing, but I don't know when they're going to get their first win, because it's like, yes, they play hard, and even Dan Campbell, the head coach, came out and criticized Jared Goff for some of the plays and some of the mannerisms that he had, but it's just like it's hard for me to see a win for the Lions. And shouts out to the Bengals for doing exactly what they were supposed to do. They destroyed the Lions, like in every way, shape, or form. They beat them at every facet of the game. They won. So shouts out to the Bengals. The Packers beat the Bears 24-14. the "I still own you" game that Aaron Rodgers scored the touchdown, and he said he looked up and saw nothing but people flipping the bird at him, or double bird, and then he's like, "I still own you." That's probably one of the greatest. Oh man, that's probably one of the greatest celebrations ever, bro. How do you tell a away team that, or how do you tell a home team that I still own you like that? Do you know how ruthless that is? Like, but in all actuality, man, the Packers are starting to put it together. They were away divisional game. The Bears had a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields. Their defense is still good, but the Packers starting to put it together. They're not. What I'm starting to realize is they're not. I don't think this Packers team is going to blow out really anybody, unless they're garbage or something. But you have Aaron Rodgers. You have the great equalizer at this point, and when you have him, he's going to make the right plays. Again, the game one against the Saints was an anomaly, as we're starting to see. He said it, the team said it, but until you really see it, you don't know. But game one was an anomaly because they're doing everything that they're supposed to do. They're doing everything right. Devontae Adams is good. Lazard is playing well. Valdez-Scantling is still in out or injured, so once he comes back, that's going to be big. I do think that they would definitely benefit from a true number 2 wide receiver. I think because you're playing with Aaron Rodgers, it makes Lazard, it makes Valdez-Scantling, it makes some of the Robert Tonyan at the tight end position. It makes them, I kind of elevate their game. Like, he elevates their game, and I don't know if they would be as effective anywhere else with maybe a lesser quarterback. But the Packers are doing just enough, and they're doing what they have to do to win. Again, it was a good divisional showdown, and they did what they had to do. Yes, granted, it was against a rookie quarterback, but again, you play who's on your schedule, and they won. So shouts out to the Packers. Probably the most surprising game of the weekend was the Ravens destroying the Chargers 34-6. I said this was the most surprising game. One, I picked the Chargers to win. It's hard for me, even though the Ravens did win on Monday Night Football. It's hard for me I was at the game. What I saw Carson Wentz absolutely shred this Baltimore Ravens defense. Like, it was horrible. I mean, Carson Wentz looked like the Carson Wentz of old. Even though they didn't win, Carson Wentz looked like the Carson Wentz before the injury with the Eagles. He had like 400 yards receiving, or 400 yards passing. They were shredding that defense. And I thought, well, yes, you still have Lamar Jackson. He's humming right now. You're going up against a better quarterback and a better offense in the Chargers. I mean, Mike Williams has been incredible this year. Austin Eckler has been great. Keenan Allen has been great. Jared Cook has been great for this team. And then Justin Herbert is Justin Herbert. And I just thought that it was either going to be a shootout or the Ravens defense was just gonna, it was just gonna be one of those games where the Ravens defense can't stop Justin Herbert, and they just lost. But boy, oh boy, I'm really the thing that's surprising me about this Ravens team is, and this, I don't know if you guys remember, I may try to find it, but I said that Lamar Jackson was a dark horse for the MVP. Now, after I do the breakdown with all the games, I'm going to give my top 5 MVP list right now, or I'm going to give my top 5 MVP list so far in the league. But the reason why I said that Lamar Jackson could have been a dark horse MVP before the season started was because they're dealing with so much. I mean, they're pretty much running back by committee at this point. They had to bring on Devontae Freeman. They had to bring on Le'Veon Bell. They had to bring on Latavius Murray, who got hurt. So I hope he'll be okay. Their wide receiver core was decimated. Outside of Hollywood Brown, Sammy Watkins was hurt. Rashad Bateman, who came back for the first time this week, caught a couple passes, so he looked good. Their defense, they lost their second best defender in Marcus Peters, and they were dealing with injury. I just felt if they were going to be good, it was going to have to be because of Lamar Jackson. And as we sit here, week 6, They destroyed the Chargers, and it felt like the thing that I'm really getting impressed with the Ravens in general is they're adapting to their teams, or they're adapting to their opponents. Let me say this, or let me say that. They're adapting to their opponents. The Colts said, you know what? We are not going to let you run the ball. We do not care. We're going to commit to not making you or not letting you run the ball. So you're going to have to beat us throwing the ball. If you beat us throwing the ball, at the end of the game, we're just going to shake your hand and say, hey, it is what it is. You beat us the way that you want us to beat us. And what did the Ravens do? Lamar Jackson threw for 442 yards. A Ravens record, a career high, first player in NFL history to throw over 400 yards while completing 85%, I believe. This game against the Chargers said, okay, we are going to try to contain. We are going to contain Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is not going to beat us. Lamar Jackson, he can have some big plays, which he had a touchdown to what's his name? We had a touchdown to Mark Andrews. Him and Mark Andrews probably have like the best connection in the league right now. Like they are just clicking on all cylinders. But they said we're not going to let Lamar Jackson himself beat us. He's been on a tear this entire year. He will not beat us. What did the Ravens do? Latavius Murray had a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell had a touchdown. Hollywood Brown dropped a touchdown, but Hollywood Brown has been good. It's just the Ravens are adapting to whatever they're getting thrown. Like whatever a team is making them do, they're doing to perfection. As far as, okay, we're not going to let you run. Lamar Jackson throws for 400 yards. We're not going to let Lamar Jackson beat us. Run back Devontae Freeman had a touchdown, I believe. The Ravens are one of the best teams in the league right now, and that's surprising for me to say because of all the injuries that they dealt with. And I think that it was a bad day for the Chargers. It was a bad day for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert looked like he was just lost, and I think that was because this was just like Washington probably played the best defensive game they played on Sunday against the Chiefs. This was the best defensive game that the Ravens have played this entire year. Patrick Queen was humming. Marlon Humphreys. I don't understand why. I don't understand why the Chargers kept going for fourth down in Ravens territory. Like, I don't understand why they kept doing it, or in their territory. I don't know why they kept doing it. I just didn't get it, and they kept failing. But hey, they're 4-2. The Ravens are now 5-1. They're the best, or they have the number one. They're the number one team in the AFC right now, and the Ravens are just firing on all cylinders at this point. The defense carried them on Sunday, and it wasn't. I'm not saying carried them as far as Lamar Jackson was bad. Lamar Jackson had a very pedestrian game, and it's not. And that's not saying that he isn't capable of doing more. It's just he didn't have to do more. He did just enough. As far as any time that the team needed a big first down, he got it for them. Anytime they needed him to he did have he had two picks. One of them was a bad pick, and he just didn't see the linebacker in the middle when the wide receiver was coming over, which of course he admitted to, and it is what it is. But every time that the Ravens needed a big play, they got it from him, and that's just a sign of a great player, man. So shouts out to the Ravens for beating the Chargers 34-6. The Vikings beat the Panthers 34-28. Again, the Vikings are one of those teams where they're in almost every game they are. Like they could very well be 5-1, 6-0. They just maybe 5-1. It's just they haven't been able to finish games, and they finished the Panthers. The Panthers they're on a skid right now. Sam Darnold didn't play bad, but he didn't have like a good game. He didn't have the game where, of course, he looked bad in some areas. He looked good. I thought that he didn't look like the Sam Darnold of old, but he needed to be better. And Chuba Herbert looked really good for the Panthers, but the Vikings and Kirk Cousins did what they had to do, and it was pretty much a kicking game at the end. And the Vikings were able to pull through. So, shout out to the Vikings. Another big game that happened was the Arizona Cardinals beating the Browns. Now, this was a bigger game for the Browns than it was for the Cardinals because going in, a lot of people, including myself, felt that the Browns had the pieces to at least make some noise in the playoffs, maybe even make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, they have on paper probably one of, if not the best team, if we look at just roster and on paper. And I said going in that this team, even though it's a great team, even though they have incredible pieces, I mean, you have Jarvis Landry, even though he's been hurt, but he should be coming back soon. You have Jarvis Landry, you have Njoku, you have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Nick Chubb, you have Kareem Hunt, you have Jadeveon Clowney, you have Myles Garrett, you have a lot of great pieces, Austin Hooper. I said this team is only going to go as far as Baker Mayfield takes them. And this was a big game because you're going up against the Cardinals, right? They were 5-0 going in. Kyler Murray is on a tear. AJ Green is on a tear. DeAndre Hopkins. James Conner looks like he's still a top back in the league, or he's still a number one back in this league. They just JJ Watt, Chandler Jones, they just Buda Baker. They've been humming. And in order to consider yourself a legit championship laden team or a championship caliber team, you have to beat these teams. He already lost he already lost the first challenge going up against Patrick Mahomes. He lost the second challenge going up against Justin Herbert. These are pretty much what people would consider contemporaries to Baker Mayfield. I mean, young quarterbacks, young great quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield and the Browns want to consider himself one of those people, so you have to beat your peers. So now you have Kyler Murray. And boy, the Cardinals beat the living dog-ish out of the Browns. If it wasn't for that Hail Mary that Baker threw to Peoples-Jones before the half, it would be a lot worse. The Cardinals beat the Browns 37-14. And Baker is good. Don't get me wrong. Baker is a good quarterback. Baker is, I don't know if he warrant being the number one overall quarterback, but Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. Again, the problem is, and what the Browns want to see is, can you beat the elite quarterbacks? I mean, they built a team around him. He has the best offensive line in the league. He has weapons. He has a defense. Can you go toe-to-toe with some of the younger quarterbacks, some of your contemporaries, and can you beat them? Can you beat the Justin Herberts? Can you beat the Patrick Mahomes? Can you beat the Kyler Murrays? Can you beat the Lamar Jacksons? Can you beat the Josh Allens? Can you beat some of those quarterbacks? And it's shown that he hasn't been able to. I mean, this team is too good to be 3-3. I know it's early, but this team should not be 3-3. This team should not, with the moves that they made, with the players that they have, this team should not be 3-3. Now you can say, well, what Jarvis Landry's hurt, Odell Beckham Jr. That connection just isn't right. Kareem Hunt got hurt. It looks like he'll miss a couple weeks with a calf, I believe. Nick Chubb got hurt with a calf. Yeah. A lot of that, but that's sports. That's football. Look at Lamar Jackson. We just talked about. Look at Lamar Jackson, bro. His entire wide or running back core went out, from J.K. Dobbins to Gus Edwards. They had to go pick up running backs off the street, and they've been able to make it work. Hell, even his receiving core, from Sammy Watkins to their number one draft pick or number one first round draft pick, and Rashad Bateman has been out. Rashad Bateman played his first game on Sunday, and the Ravens are still 5. Hell, their defense has been decimated with injury. Their offensive line has been decimated with injury, and the Ravens are still 5-1. Lamar Jackson has been able to overcome what he does and does not have. Josh Allen, his defense has been garbage for a minute now. This year they're good, but they've been, and he's been able to make it work. So I think that this is a big year for Baker Mayfield and the Browns, because I think the Browns are starting to, I'm not gonna say lose patience, but the patience isn't there, because it's like we're giving you it's on you now, Baker. There's multiple quarterbacks that have to deal with. Hell, look at the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson. Look at everything that Russell Wilson has to go through as far as his running backs constantly out. Hell, Chris Carson is hurt right now. His defense being horrible. And year after year, they make the playoffs. Look at what Derek Carr has to go through. His best receiver is a tight end. Now, don't get me wrong, Darren Waller's a really good tight end. He's one of the best tight end in the league. But his best receiver is a tight end. His best receiver is probably what? Edwards? Maybe Willie Snead. No, it's definitely not Willie Snead. So, like, look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Now, yes, I understand you have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd, you have Jamar Chase, but you have one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and their defense is not good. And Joe Burrow is still, they're 4-2. So the excuses are starting to run out for this is only week 6 of a 17-week NFL season. So anything can happen in 11 weeks. But you hope that a number 1 overall draft pick in Baker Mayfield, and you're putting him on arguably the best roster in the league, you're hoping that he can start beating some of his contemporaries. He can start beating the Justin Herberts. He can start beating the Kyler Murrays. He can start beating the Patrick Mahomeses. He can start beating the Lamar Jacksons. And they play Lamar Jackson, in 2-3 weeks, so we'll see how that goes. So, and for the Cardinals, man, Kyler Murray they're humming, man. They're firing on all cylinders. And they just got Zach Ertz, so this offense that already had A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins and James Conner, now you have Zach Ertz. And don't get me wrong, I know Zach Ertz hasn't had his best or hasn't put best film on tape since the championship year for Philly, but that's because he was not happy with the organization, and the quarterback situation wasn't really helping him or really suffice for him. So they got a stud in Zach Ertz. So this offense is just going to go to another level, and that is scary, seeing as though they're already probably one of, if not the best offense in the league, and they're 6-0. So shouts out to the Cardinals, man. The Raiders beat the Broncos 34-24. Again, you don't really know what you're going to get from Derek Carr. Derek Carr looked incredible. Now I don't know if it was because of distraction with the John Gruden thing and everything that's going on with the Raiders, but previous week he looked horrible. Like, he was overthrowing people. It was just bad. This week he looked great. Now the Broncos are kind of reeling a little bit. They're kind of leaking bad. They pretty much come down. I understand that they were 3-0, but again, all of the teams that they beat to be 3-0, I think have a combined like 2 wins right now. So they're starting. Their offense is starting to really drag them down, and it's not really because I'm not. It's not all on Teddy Bridgewater. They just don't really have a good offense, and Jerry Jeudy being out is definitely hurts them. But yeah, the Broncos are not the Broncos are the Broncos that were 3-0. It's just the team. They're not really a good team. They were just playing teams that are worse than them, and the Raiders, they came and they did what they had to do. So shouts out to the Raiders for beating them. Cowboys beat the Patriots 35-26, or no, 35-29. I apologize. And you're starting to see one thing that you want to see out of a championship caliber team is, can you win games that you're not supposed to win? And what do I mean by that? The Cowboys, for sure, played their worst game of the season. Now, I understand that they won they lost the game against the Bucs, but they had every opportunity to beat the Bucs. They just didn't, and they were going up against a better team. the Cowboys should have lost this game. Patrick, Dak Prescott throwing an interception in the end zone. Them going forward on the first, trying to go on fourth down, trying to get the 1 yard, didn't get it. Mike McCarthy's time management, which we keep saying time and time again, for some reason it just doesn't. I don't understand some of the decisions that he makes when it comes to timeouts and time management. It just doesn't make sense. Everything that was Dak Prescott not really having a good game. Everything went the Patriots' way. Mac Jones probably had the best game he's had in his career as far as his early career in the NFL. Even though he did have a pick six from Trayvon Diggs, he was playing well. The defense was playing well. The running game for the Patriots was playing good. The Cowboys should have lost this game. They did not play good enough to win this game. The thing is, though, Dak Prescott made the big plays when they needed. He made the big play to a big first down to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, CeeDee Lamb had the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Everything was going against the Cowboys. The Cowboys should have lost the game. It's just they won it. And these are the type of games that usually the Cowboys will lose. Now, I'll say if the Cowboys are playing against Tom Brady on the Patriots, they for sure would have lost. Maybe even Cam Newton, they for sure would have lost. But I'm not putting that on Mac Jones. Don't hear me say that. But I think that if they played a better quarterback, like a more ready quarterback, they definitely would have lost. But you play on who's your schedule. The Patriots, their quarterback is Mac Jones, and the Cowboys won. Zeke ran well. Again, CeeDee Lamb was incredible. I think he had 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Amari Cooper just continues to just catch everything. Dalton Schultz was great. Derwin James, no, what's his name? Dalton, I forgot. Blake Jarwin. That's it. Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz. They both were good. So, and the commentary coming out of this game is, Mike McCarthy is probably the worst part about this Dallas team, and I am starting to believe that wholeheartedly. It's like every single week, every time we talk about Mike McCarthy, is, bro, what are you doing clock management wise? What are you doing with these timeouts? You're either too conservative with these timeouts or you're too aggressive with these timeouts. Why would you call the timeout if you're about to kick a field goal? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you still have time to line up and everything. Why are you calling a timeout trying to ice your own kicker? I don't get it, especially when Greg Zuerlein has struggled from kicking this year. So I don't know, man. But and I do think that there could be a point, I don't know if it will happen, but there could be a point where in the season or even in the playoffs, because I don't look. I think the race to the NFC East, like that's over with. The Cowboys are coming out the NFC East. They will be the number 1 seed in the NFC East. And I don't think, from the way that the Giants are playing, the Eagles are playing, and Washington's playing, I don't think that there will be another team coming out the NFC East. So let's not get that confused. Things can change, but I don't see an NFC East team outside of Dallas get hot. But I do think there could be a situation where Mike McCarthy could cost him a game with his poor time management, with his poor timeout usage. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And this starting to become like a weekly thing. So, but hey, shouts out to the Cowboys for beating the Patriots 35-29. And the Seahawks lost to the Steelers 20-23. And exactly what I thought would happen. Geno Smith was good until he wasn't. Geno Smith, I mean, there's a reason why I don't think he started for the last 6 years or 5 years or 3 years or something like that. Like, he's not a starting caliber quarterback. And in the biggest moment, you fumbled the ball. Like, now I understand that you're going against probably one of the best defenders in the league, and T.J. Watt, and one of the best defenses, and the defense was humming. But come on, man, you got to hold on to the ball. You got to hold on to the ball. And again, I told you this is this. Look, Geno Smith played good enough to win the game. It's just in the big moments, he may have missed a throw or two. I don't know what the hell DK Metcalf was doing. Hey, yo, DK Metcalf, I know you're probably not listening. This isn't a big platform. Don't come after me like you came after Shannon Sharp. Like you came after Shannon Sharp. Like, I ain't that big. And but I don't understand what DK Metcalf was doing, why he didn't just go out of bounds and feel like you needed a field goal. I don't know why you're trying to play a hero with that situation. Doesn't make much sense. But the Seahawks would have won this game if Russell Wilson was the quarterback. And I told you, look, this is what the Seahawks are going to look like with Geno Smith. Now I understand Russell Wilson was doing, that a little bit too much with the whole, practicing and doing the fake calls and stuff. I don't know what he was doing, but like, dude, just chill out. I love Russell Wilson, but just chill out. But like I said, this is what you're going to start to realize the Seahawks are incredibly dependent on Russell Wilson. I mean, you saw, I don't even think the only time I heard Tyler Lockett's name was when he was on the sideline, and DK Metcalf was cool. But like the team was pretty much neutralized. So, or the offensive weapons, the best weapon was Alex Collin, who got hurt. So, the Steelers, and don't get it confused, man. Big Ben did not really, the offense, they won despite the offense. The offense wasn't the greatest. Najee Harris played good, but I don't know how long you can keep having 35, 40 carry games and think that's sustainable. I mean, they're gonna run his youth to the ground. Deontay Johnson was good, but they just kept force feeding him. But again, Big Ben still doesn't look good. He's able to make maybe a pass or two, but he's not throwing the ball downfield. I don't think one player had an average. I think Shannon Sharp said it. He threw it to like 7 players, and not one of them had a ratio. Not one of them had a 10-point or 10-yard ratio. So it's like he's just doing the dink and dunks. And if you would have played a better quarterback in Russell Wilson, they probably would have lost the game. But they didn't. And the Steelers are incredibly defensive dependent. Like if their defense plays bad, they're losing the game. I do not foresee a game where the offense can carry this team. Big Ben just doesn't have it anymore. But shouts out to the Steelers for beating the Seahawks. And Monday Night Football, excuse me. The Tennessee Titans beat the Buffalo Bills 34-31. I was wrong about this game. I thought that the Bills were going to beat the Titans. I mean, the Titans defense hasn't really been good, and they've been injured. I mean, somebody got injured. I think Jackson got injured on Monday night, and everyone is piling on about the controversial 4th down call. For people that didn't see, there was like maybe 20 seconds left or something, or 10 seconds left, and the Bills went for it on 4th and 1 at like the 2 or 3 yard line, and when they could have just kicked the field goal and took it in overtime. And a lot of people, Josh Allen did a quarterback sneak, didn't get it. They lost the game. And a lot of people are saying, why didn't you just go for the field goal? First and foremost, the Bills defense was having a horrible game. Like Derrick Henry had 3 touchdowns. He broke out for like a 76-yarder. The Bills defense was just getting shredded. AJ Brown was huge. I know Julio Jones caught a big pass. There was nothing that the Browns or the Bills defense was doing to stop the Tennessee Titans. And on the other hand, the Tennessee Titans wasn't doing a good job of stopping the Bills either. We look at the 4th down play, and of course that was a stop, but Cole Beasley was getting anything he wanted. Stephon Diggs was getting anything he wanted. Nix was getting anything he wanted, even though they did find out that he broke his hand, so I know hope he recovers. It was a good game. It was a good game. It was a shootout. Ryan Tannehill did just enough. Derrick Henry, and we'll talk about him in a second. Derrick Henry, carried this team, and he's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's rushing record. So, I'm not upset. And if I were the Bills, I probably would have gone for it as well. I mean, there was nothing. There was no indication that said that even going into overtime, your defense could stop the Tennessee Titans. Now, also on the flip side, I understand people saying, "Well, what if you would have won the coin toss?" The Tennessee Titans defense was not only injured, and they were playing well, but they were missing it felt like the Tennessee Titans, the Buffalo Bills were getting all the big plays. It was just, Derrick Henry was just running up and down them, and A.J. Brown came in big, especially in the second half. So I would have went for it. If I were the Bills coach, I'm not upset. Sean McDermott, I would have went for it as well. I mean, you have 6'5" quarterback that is one of the best rushers in the, one of the best physical rushers in the league, and Josh Allen. I think he can get a yard. He just didn't. You lose the game. It is what it is. I would have done the same exact thing. So it is, and this is just, the Bills are 4-2. And the Titans are 4-2. Even though the Titans, their defense hasn't really been that good. They lost to the Jets. And Derrick Henry has pretty much been carrying them. You're still playing a 4-2. Both of you guys are 4-2. Both of you guys, a lot of people have the Titans could be a sleeper as far as making it to the NFC Championship. So, that was Monday Night Football. Those are my week 6 predictions. Not predictions. Week 6 breakdowns, and a conversation out of this, and we'll move forward. Is who is the MVP? Who is the MVP? Who is the MVP? And, we're 6 weeks in, or just finished 6 weeks, or pretty much 7 weeks in. And I wanted to give my top 5 MVPs. Now, this was tough because the MVP has pretty much turned into a quarterback award. You have quarterbacks throwing for 4,000, 5,000 yards, 30, 40 touchdowns a game or a season. It's hard not to give it to a quarterback. And that's why usually the offensive player of the year usually goes to a running back or a wide receiver. And if I don't think that's fair, because there are some teams that are carried, like the Tennessee Titans, that are carried by, Derrick Henry and his rushing yards. There's some teams that their best player could be a wide receiver. I don't know. And if the voting for the MVP was a little better, then Derrick Henry would definitely be in consideration. I think Derrick Henry could be the MVP if they really gave it to a running back, or maybe DeAndre Hopkins has something to say about that, or Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs. I think if they gave the MVP award to a wide receiver or a running back, or if they were more open to give it to them, I would say that, the MVP could go to them. But because it really doesn't, it's really a quarterback award, unfortunately, or that's what it's turned into. Here are my top 5 MVPs. Number 5, I have Josh Allen. Again, the Chiefs are 4-2. Let's not, even in their 2 losses, right? The first week loss against the Steelers and Monday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans. Josh Allen has been incredible. Josh Allen made a hell of a, he played incredible. I mean, he threw for 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, even though he did have an interception. Josh Allen has been incredible. They've been blowing out people, and that is because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen it goes back to the whole Baker Mayfield thing. Josh Allen has exceeded expectations, especially, only coming from Wyoming. He had incredible he had some incredible accuracy issues coming into the league, his first few years in the league, and now he's one of the best young quarterbacks, maybe the best young quarterback. And I have him at number 5. Number 4, I have Dak Prescott. I did not see this coming. I did not see the Cowboys Even though they did do Hard Knocks, I did not see the Cowboys being a Super Bowl contender. I did not see, especially after the gruesome injury that we saw Dak Prescott sustain, I did not think that he was going to come back and be this good. I mean, this team and the Cowboys is so dependent on Dak Prescott. I'm not saying, Zeke's bad or Tony Pollard's bad, but this team is going to go as far as Dak Prescott will take them. And Dak Prescott has been incredible this entire year. I am not taking anything away. And it's hard for me to say this being a Washington fan, but I'm not taking anything away from what Dak Prescott has done. He has super exceeded my expectations. So I have Dak Prescott at 4. At 3, I had Tom Brady. Tom Brady's on pace. I mean, Tom Brady's having the best season of his career at like 44, 45 or something like that. Like, he's on pace to be top 3 in touchdown passes. He's on pace to be top 2 in passing yards before the season ends. And Tom Brady's just been incredible. Like, and it's still mind-blowing the fact that he is the age that he is and he's having his best season of his career. That is crazy. Now, I will say that it does have something to be said that, coming to the Bucs, this is the best unit he's ever played with. Not saying the best player, because he did have Rob Gronkowski when he was younger, and he did have Randy Moss, 2-3 years. But, having Mike Evans, having Chris Godwin, having Leonard Fournette, having Antonio Brown, having Gronk still, O.J. Howard, you give the GOAT weapons, and he's going to use them. So I have Tom Brady number 3. I have Lamar Jackson number 2. I have Lamar because, again, it goes back to what I said when we did the Week 6 breakdown. Everything that should go against the Ravens has not gone against them. Their running back core was decimated. They have been still one of the best rushing teams in the league. Lamar Jackson's limitations have been he can't really throw the ball. In fact, I came in here, and that's the crazy thing about Lamar Jackson. He's improved week after week. Because remember, against the Raiders, the game 1, probably the only game where Lamar Jackson's played bad, I said Lamar Jackson still struggles with throwing the intermediate pass, throwing, boom, boom. He's still not good at throwing the short passes. Well, he has completely changed that and completely improved that. And it's like, now Lamar Jackson can do it all. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. He's accurate. I mean, a lot of the touchdown passes that he doesn't make, they're either dropped by somebody or, it just didn't work out. But Lamar Jackson has been incredible. And the only reason why Lamar Jackson is number 2 is because I don't have anybody at this point over Kyler Murray. That's why I have Kyler Murray number 1. The Cardinals are firing on all cylinders. The Cardinals are playing great. That offense is humming with DeAndre Hopkins, with A.J. Green. Now you're getting Zach Ertz. Kyler Murray, I think the reason why a lot of people are kind of skeptical and kind of wait to see with Kyler Murray is because Kyler Murray started like this last year. Last year, he started all guns blazing, firing, and then he got hurt. Kyler Murray is still incredibly small. He's still one of the, if not the smallest quarterback in the league. And of course, he does still take some of those big hits. And I think a lot of people are on that wait and see mode because, again, this is starting. Now, he was better this year than last year, but last year he started incredible. He started all guns blazing. They were incredible. Then he got hurt. And once he got hurt, came back, or it was a steep decline. So I am going off what I've seen in 6 weeks, and I have Kyler Murray as my MVP at this point. Until somebody beats them, until he has a horrible game, and he's had a bad game. Don't get me wrong, he's had a bad game, but the bad game hasn't cost him. I think his worst game this year was against the Vikings, but it hasn't cost him. He still played. It wasn't like horrible. It was just bad to his standards. And I haven't seen anybody knock them off. So I have Kyler Murray number 1, Lamar Jackson number 2, Tom Brady number 3, Dak Prescott number 4, and Josh Allen number 5. Again, if the MVP was fair, if it was a fair award, like quarterbacks didn't just get it, then I think that players like Derrick Henry would always be in the mix and could be top of this list, or definitely in this list. Maybe Devontae Adams, how much the Packers use him. I think he could be up. DeAndre Hopkins, how reliable he's been for Kyler Murray. Hell, even the defense. TJ Watt is the best player on the Steelers, and he is their driving force. He is their engine. TJ Watt has been incredible. Aaron Donald still commands double and triple teams. So I think that if it was more fair and it wasn't just a quote-unquote quarterback award, then some of those players would definitely be on my list. But because this is the quarterback award and people like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, they've been incredible, that's my list for the MVP. So, again, this is only week 7 at this point, and I'm excited to see what goes from there. So let's move forward. Oh, and honestly, this can all change. There's still people there's players that, Lamar Jackson may be the MVP. We'll see what Patrick Mahomes does towards the end, because he's struggled incredibly this year, but he's still Patrick Mahomes. Let's see what Aaron Rodgers is doing. I mean, they're 5-1 at this point, so it can definitely change. But let's move forward. So the NBA is back. The NBA is back, and I saved my last divisional breakdown for the start of the season, and that is the Pacific Division. Not only do I think the Pacific Division is the best division in basketball, I think that they will probably have the most to say about the structure of the NBA Finals. The Pacific Division is the Phoenix Suns, LA Clippers, Los Angeles Lakers, Golden State Warriors, and Sacramento Kings. Let's start with the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings is definitely the worst team in this division by far. Yes, you have De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, hopefully Marvin Bagley can stay healthy, which he hasn't been able to do this entire career. But this team. No, I don't see much happening with the Kings. The Kings aren't that good. We don't really need to talk about them. They have Davion Mitchell, and that's big. He can definitely make some noise, or he'll definitely be important, especially his defense. But they do have Tyler Halliburton, who was definitely a surprise last year as far as the rookies. I didn't think he was going to be that good, but he's been a lot better than I expected him to be. So. But the Kings is by far the worst team in this division, and we got them out the way. Now let's go with some of these teams. Now let's go with these teams. Let's start with the Clippers. Let's go with the Clippers. The Clippers is interesting because they're going into the season without their best player, which is Kawhi Leonard. And we don't know when or if we will see Kawhi Leonard this year. We say if because, of course, he could come back, once he's fully healthy, I think towards March or before the playoffs. But as we've seen with Kawhi Leonard, he does not play if he's not 100% healthy. Or if he doesn't feel 100% healthy. So we don't know if we're going to get Kawhi Leonard, or if we do get Kawhi Leonard, we don't know when we're going to. So let's speak on the Clippers without Kawhi. You have Paul George, who had an incredible run last year in the playoffs, got the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. You still have Reggie Jackson, who was good. Serge Ibaka, he's coming, but he was injured pretty much all of the playoffs, so he's getting back. They have Eric Bledsoe now, but I don't think this team is good enough to really make any noise as far as it's a good team, but it's not. I don't think that they're not better than the Suns, in my opinion. They're not better than the Lakers. They're not better than a Dallas Mavericks. Well, they probably are better than Dallas Mavericks. They're not really better than a Utah. They're not better than Denver. They're not better than some of the top teams, because we don't know what to get. And it's really a two-man team on that one. It's really, Kawhi Leonard, if he comes back, and Paul George, and I just don't know if that's going to get it done. But I do think that defensively they'll be good, and Paul George, I think he's going to have a career year. He's going to need to have a career year, and I think that he has it in him. I mean, the last time it was quote-unquote a solo act is when he was in Indiana, and we saw the numbers and some of the things that he was doing there. I just don't. Even with Kawhi Leonard, not to mention when Kawhi Leonard gets back, how healthy is he going to be, or how engaged is he going to be? So I don't. I think the Clippers is a wait and see team. I think that they could upset some people. I don't know if they'll upset some of the top teams, but they could upset some of the seeding. They could beat somebody in the playoffs. Who knows? I do think that a healthy Kawhi Leonard will make it interesting in the playoffs, but I don't know if they're good enough to beat the Lakers. I don't know. I don't think they are, but hey, well, I don't know. Let's go with the Phoenix Suns. Shouts out to Mike Curry. I did an episode, or I was on the latest episode of Curry in the Pot. You can go check that out wherever you get your podcast. We had an NBA preview, and we talked about the Phoenix Suns. And we came to the conclusion that they overachieved last year. Now, I think a lot of people hear that and automatically, damn, Jay, you hating on the Suns? No, I'm not. Just because you overachieve isn't always a bad thing. They got to the NBA Finals. They were up 2-0 in the NBA Finals. They overachieved, but that's not automatically a bad thing. But let's be 1,000% real about what we saw last year. They went up against a Lakers team that didn't have Anthony Davis wasn't healthy, and he missed most of the series, and LeBron James wasn't 100% healthy. They went up against a Denver Nuggets team that didn't have the only player outside of Michael Porter Jr. that can put the ball on the ground and go get his own, and that is Jamal Murray. They went up against a LA Clippers team that didn't have their best player in Kawhi Leonard. And even still, Paul George was going crazy, and Terrence Mann was going crazy. So the first time they played a completely healthy team, and it really even wasn't completely healthy because they didn't have Archie DiFrancesco, and Giannis Antetokounmpo hyperextended his knee just a series before, so he wasn't 100%. Excuse me. The first time they went up against a nearly healthy team was the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals, and they lost. And the biggest story coming to this season for this team is the money that they've dealt out to some people, which is, Cameron Payne, Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, and the money that they haven't dealt out to some people, and that is to DeAndre Ayton. I kind of put DeAndre Ayton in the same category for the Phoenix Suns as I put Draymond Green in the Golden State Warriors. Now, yes, I think DeAndre Ayton, his game can travel a lot of places in the league. I do think that. And I don't know if Draymond Green's can really travel to a lot of places in the league, especially his importance to Golden State. But DeAndre Ayton was a big reason why and how the Phoenix Suns made it to the NBA Finals last year. I mean, when AD went down, he was incredible in the Lakers series. He outplayed Nikola Jokic in the Denver series, and I mean, he had a big game-winning alley-oop against the Clippers, and he was big for the Clippers. I mean, he was big against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. So that's not the player that you want to be skimpy on as far as not giving them a contract. And the contract negotiations have stopped. He's upset with the organization, and rightfully so. He was important, and I think that if the Suns want any type of resemblance of what happened last year, they're going to need to get it straight with DeAndre Ayton. And I'm not saying DeAndre Ayton is their best player by any means. I mean, Chris Paul is better. Devin Booker's better. And I understand why you pay players like Mikal Bridges, because I think statistically he was like one of their most important and one of their most consistent players. But they need to get this DeAndre Ayton thing, because the last thing you want to do is have a disgruntled star or disgruntled player, especially a player of importance, going into a season. So, but I think the Suns definitely, I think, will make the playoffs. I just don't think that they'll be able to have the same success that they had last year, because they overachieved one and they ran into a lot of favorable situations. Some of the team's best and most important players that they ran up against, Kawhi Leonard, Jamal Murray, Anthony Davis, they were either out or injured. Actually, all of them were out. So But I do think the Suns will be good, and I think the Suns will have something to say about who makes it to the playoffs, and I do think that they will make the playoffs. So that's the Suns. Then we have Golden State. Golden State is the most. This team can either go one of two ways. No, that's not true. This team is. Here's the reason why it's tough discussing, or it's tough predicting the Golden State Warriors, because we know how good they could be without Klay Thompson, because we saw it last year. We saw Klay Thompson didn't play. Steph Curry went nuclear. He finished second in MVP. He finished with the scoring title. Steph Curry is the great equalizer. Steph Curry is top 5 player in the league. Steph Curry is incredible. Steph Curry is probably the second best point guard ever. Steph Curry is just that dude. But this team is really banking on two things. It's banking on Klay Thompson coming back healthy, and being away for 2 years pretty much with ACL injuries. That's going to be tough. Here's the thing. It's not the fact that they're not hoping that they're not worried about his offense. Shooters are always going to shoot. Hell, you can look at Larry Bird right now to this day, and he can still shoot the ball. Not saying that he's NBA caliber, or league caliber today, but he can still shoot the ball. Shooters shoot. Reggie Miller can still shoot the ball. Klay Thompson's defense was so important for Golden State. They don't know how he's going to be coming back, and I think that's going to be big for this team. This team is banking on Klay Thompson's defense coming back, because Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are pretty much their best defenders. Yeah, you have Andre Iguodala. He did come back, but that's pretty much their best defenders. And they're hoping that they're getting the Klay Thompson of old. And they're also banking on James Wiseman. Now, James Wiseman, to me, if he blossoms into what he is supposed, or what he was projected coming out of Memphis, he could be one of the best young bigs in the league. It's just he needs to really define his offense. He needs to kind of get his defensive awareness better. And that's what Golden State's banking on. Golden State could either be, I'll say this, Golden State's window can either be or scale. They can either be a play-in team like they did last year, because Steph Curry is still going to Steph Curry. Jordan Poole looks like he can have a big year. Draymond Green is still going to be Draymond Green. They got Kuminga and they got Moody, so I think they're going to be important for them, especially Kuminga's energy and his slashing ability, and Moody's shooting. They could be a playoff. I mean, I think they'll make the playoffs, or at least the play-in. They can be a good play-in team, or they can be a second to third overall seed in the West if Klay Thompson comes back. Because I think reports saying he's coming back either a little bit before Christmas or a little bit after. If Klay Thompson is 75 to 80% what he was, then they can be a second overall seed, they can be a number 2 overall seed in the West. Say, you still have Andrew Wiggins, and he's vaccinated now, so he'll be playing. You still have, like I said, they hope James Wiseman can improve tremendously. Kevon Looney, this team can be, this team is good enough to actually, honestly, this team, because you still have Steph Curry, you still have the best point guard in the league, and one of the best scorers the league has ever seen. This team could make it to the finals, if not the Western Conference Finals. It's just you don't want Klay Thompson to come back and put a lot on him, but you're going to need his defense, and we need to see how he moves and how he fares after injury. So it's hard to predict what the Golden State Warriors is, so I'll put it in a range category. They can either be a play-in team or an 8th seed, or they can be a second overall seed in the West. That's how good and how much they could be. That's how good they can be to how bad, I guess, they can be. So, and then you have the LA Lakers. Probably the most interesting team. Made the moves. You got Melo, you got Russell Westbrook. Rondo came back. You have Wayne Ellington. Malik Monk. They picked up, what's his name, Avery Bradley off waivers. This team can go one of two ways, man. This team can be really good or really bad. And when I say really bad, on paper, it doesn't look like any of these pieces fit, like, at all. Russell Westbrook needs the ball in his hand. LeBron James needs the ball in his hand. Now, this is heaven for Anthony Davis. All you have to do is pick and roll, and you have LeBron, Russell Westbrook, Rondo, all throwing you lobs, like heaven for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is the only one that is just smiling from ear to ear. But again, this could be really bad. Like, all these pieces don't fit when you look on paper. Melo needs the ball, and he's a mid-range specialist in a league that pretty much champions three-pointers. LeBron isn't a three-point shooter like that. Russell Westbrook most definitely is not a three-point shooter. Anthony Davis is not a reliable three-point shooter. Rajon Rondo's not a reliable three-point shooter. Their only three-point shooters, honestly, is Wayne Ellington and Malik Monk. And are they going to be in there for crunch time? This could be really bad, or it could be really good. Again, you have one of the most explosive point guards to ever play in Russell Westbrook. You have arguably the best player ever in LeBron James. I don't know. I do think that at their best, this team will make it to the NBA Finals and probably will win it. It is a smart, talented team. I don't think the IQ is going anywhere. So I don't know with the Lakers. I think we have to wait and see. I think that they're going to have a slow start because you're trying to figure out, okay, how do we integrate Russell Westbrook with LeBron James? How do we integrate Melo with LeBron James? How do we integrate, how do we optimize the floor with Melo and Anthony Davis on the same floor? So I think that, it's a wait and see type thing. And I think they'll struggle out the gate, but I think they're hoping that they're going to start humming towards the playoffs. I know that LeBron James's usage rate is going to go down because of all and I think that's what they want until they get to the playoffs. Russell Westbrook is going to pick a lot of the slack up. So is Melo. So is Anthony Davis. So once you get to the playoffs, I think they said that LeBron James only playing like 35 minutes a game, which isn't that much for a star like him. So I think that we just need to see. I think that we can't really assess this team and how they are until, the second half and close to the playoffs. So that is, that's the Pacific Division. And with the league back, I'm going to give my predictions. I'm going to give my MVP, my Defensive Player of the Year, my Rookie of the Year, and some of my finals matchups. So I have the MVP. I think the MVP can go a lot of ways. I don't think Nikola Jokic will win again, even though I do think that he'll put up great numbers. I just think that they didn't really respect. A lot of people don't respect his MVP, especially after they saw how he got bounced out against the Suns and getting kind of outplayed by DeAndre Ayton. I think that the MVP is going to be between three people. I think it's going to be between Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, and Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry, the biggest reason why Steph Curry didn't win last year is because the team was fighting for a play-in spot and ultimately didn't even make it in the play-ins. And they didn't have a better record than the Denver Nuggets or the 76ers, because I think that Joel Embiid was like third. But I think that it really depends on where the Golden State Warriors fall for Steph Curry's fate as far as the MVP. But I'm going to give the MVP to Kevin Durant. I think that this whole thing swirling with Kyrie Irving, if Kyrie Irving doesn't play this season and Kevin Durant plays out of his mind, which I believe he will, and the Brooklyn Nets are hovering around 2 to 3 or 1 and 2 seed in the East, I think that they're going to give it to Kevin Durant. I mean, we saw this man rupture his Achilles 2-3 years ago, and now he was voted the best player in the league. And he had an incredible, even though it didn't result in a championship, he had an incredible playoff run last year. I think that, a healthy James Harden is definitely going to help too. But I think that the situation surrounding Kyrie is going to kind of bolster Kevin Durant's MVP campaign, I guess you can say. And I have Kevin Durant winning the MVP. Defensive Player of the Year, I have Anthony Davis. I think that Anthony Davis is primed for a Defensive Player of the Year. I think there's so many times where he finished top 3. I think this is going to be his year. I think this is going to have to be his year because the Lakers aren't that good defensively, and I think that he's going to have to, especially, in the interior with Dwight Howard and everything, he's going to have to bolster. He's going to have to clean up a lot of mistakes, especially from a Russell Westbrook or Wayne Ellington or something like that. He's going to have to clean it up. So I think he's going to be amongst one of the leaders in blocks and probably one of the amongst leaders in defensive shares. So I have Anthony Davis winning the Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Jalen Green. I think that Cade Cunningham is probably the best rookie, but I think that it's going to kind of be like last year. I think LaMelo Ball was great. Don't get me wrong. LaMelo Ball was a great player. LaMelo Ball was great for the Hornets. LaMelo Ball was Showtime. But I think that one of the biggest reasons why he won the Rookie of the Year because we have so much attention on him and not that much attention to Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards deserved to be Rookie of the Year last year because LaMelo missed damn near half the season. Well, not damn near, but he missed like most of the season due to a hand injury. And even in that, Anthony Edwards was hooping. And I think, when Melo came back, the focus was back on Melo, and he won it. And shouts out to Melo, but I think the same thing is going to happen this year. I think Cade Cunningham is going to be the best rookie, but, the Rockets and the Pistons aren't going to win that many games. But I think that the Rockets are a little more Showtime than the Pistons. Jalen Green, Josh Christopher, Christian Wood. I think that the Rockets are gonna be a little more Showtime, and people are gonna be a little more interested in what Jalen Green's gonna do in Houston. So I have Jalen Green winning that. My finals matchup, I have the Nets and the Lakers. I think that you still have KD, and even with without Kyrie, I think that Kyrie didn't play against the Bucks last year. And they forced Game 7. And I believe if KD kept playing how he was playing and James Harden wasn't hobbled with a hamstring, I think that they would have won. You have a healthy James Harden now. You have a healthy KD. Getting Patty Mills was huge. Getting Paul Millsap was big. LaMarcus Aldridge coming back is cool. Blake Griffin coming back is cool. I think that they still have enough to make it to the NBA Finals. And the Lakers. Right now, I'm going on paper. On paper, this looks like the best team in the West. It looks like the best team in the NBA. But I do need to see how they fit as far as the Lakers. But right now, it's hard for me to bet against the Lakers. I mean, there will be teams. Golden State, I think, is going to have something to say about that. Denver's going to have something to say about that. Utah might have something to say about that. Phoenix. But right now, I'm going with the best team on paper, and that is the Atlanta Hawks. That is the LA Lakers. And the champions, I have the Lakers. I have the Lakers because this is where I think Kyrie's going to be felt. It's hard for me to see, LeBron James. I mean, it's hard for me to see Kevin Durant, James Harden beating a LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Melo. Like that team going against pretty much two players. I think that they can get with two players you can get to the finals. I don't know if you can win the finals. So I have the Lakers winning it all. And that's my prediction, man. I'm excited. This is, I'm a big basketball fan. Basketball is my first love, and the NBA season's back. We just got an exciting WNBA season that ended with the Chicago Sky winning the championship. And now, we have NBA basketball this week. It started last night, and we have college starting in a month or two, or in a couple weeks. So I'm excited, man. I am pumped. October is a crazy month, man. You have football, the NFL, you have college football, you have NBA, you have college basketball, you have tennis, and baseball. You have the World Series coming up. So October is probably the best sports month ever, and I'm excited. And I think that this will probably be the best year for the NBA. Players that have been injured for a while, as in, players that's been injured will be coming back, and this is the 75th year for the league. I think this is going to be one of the best years we've seen. I'm just excited. I'm excited for basketball. I'm excited for sports. So, but lastly, before we go, Ed Orgeron and the LSU Tigers have agreed to part ways at the end of the season. I'm not really surprised. Now, I'm not going to talk about the off-field personal issues that going on with Ed Orgeron. That's none of my business. I'm not talking about that. But I do think that it didn't work out in Ole Miss. And I think that we're really taking that season with Joe Burrow and statistically one of the greatest college football teams ever in LSU, and I think they tried to tack that on to Ed Orgeron, but without Joe Burrow, without Jamar Chase, without that incredible team that 1 year, he's been an average to below average coach, and I'm not really surprised. You can see it coming, and again, I said it before, bro. You can't be a coach and lose the locker room, especially in college. College is when you're supposed to have the most influence on these players. And when your coaching staff and the players don't want to hear you or not really listening to you anymore, that's when the writing is pretty much on the wall, in my opinion. And LSU, even though they did beat Florida on Saturday, this team is better. They expected this team to be better than their record. I know they have a lot of injuries in the secondary, on the defense and offense, but again, you can't be a coach, especially in college, and lose the locker room and lose the voice or the ear of your coaching staff. That's what you cannot do. And I think that they were looking at Ed Orgeron and saying, well, you see the year that he had with Joe Burrow and they got us national championship. But again, that to me just shows how good Joe Burrow and that team really was. And it really was in spite of Ed Orgeron instead of because of. And I'm not surprised. So, I don't wish anyone to get fired. But, Ed Orgeron, it wasn't working. And LSU's standard, especially in football, is a lot higher than what he was delivering. So I understand. But there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. It's getting cold outside. So if you want an Unpopular Podcast hoodie, sweater, long sleeve, shirt, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Just click on your favorite design. I'm sure I have it in your favorite color, and press checkout and get your Unpopular shirt, Unpopular merch today. And man, it looks fire. And it's getting cold outside. Fall definitely slapped us in the face, and get your hoodies, man. It's hoodie season, so get you a hoodie. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And until next time, much love.